Hey everyone, it's Annie and welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things skincare including Asian beauty. Today I wanted to talk about sunscreens, one of my favorite types of skincare products, and specifically Korean sunscreens. Now, I know recently there's been some controversy with Korean sunscreens, with some brands claiming their products were SPF 50, but independent testing showed otherwise, or other brands pulling their sunscreen because of this controversy. But even though this has impacted a few Korean brands, there are still so many other legitimate and great sunscreen options to choose from in the K-beauty world, and I wanted to talk about that more in depth today. Personally, I really love using Korean sunscreens. I find them pretty comparable to Japanese sunscreens, which some may consider the world's best sunscreens and sunscreen formulations. Korean sunscreens, like Japanese sunscreens, are known for their innovative and light textures and have cosmetically elegant formulas. All of the sunscreens I'm going to be talking about today work beautifully under makeup and also do not leave any white casts. So let's dive in. So the first sunscreen that I want to talk about would definitely have to be one of my personal favorites, the CosRX Aloe Soothing Sun Cream. And I really love this sunscreen. I've been using it for years. I would say that it works best for normal to dry skin types. The texture is really beautiful and it feels more like a light cream rather than a sunscreen, and it just sinks in so nicely. This sunscreen does contain alcohol and fragrance, but I found that on my skin it has not broken me out or given me irritation. This sunscreen is really unique in the fact that it offers both physical and chemical protection. I really love the cocktail of both physical and chemical filters used in this sunscreen. It has Tinosorb S, which is a broad spectrum filter, titanium dioxide, a physical filter, and octinoxate, a chemical filter. Tinosorb S is definitely a filter that I keep my eye out for when I'm looking and shopping for sunscreens. This filter provides broad spectrum protection, which means it protects against UVA and UVB rays, both long and short, which is perfect for protecting your skin against sun damage. However, this is a newer filter, and even though it's been approved by Japan, Australia, and Europe, it still has not been approved by the American FDA, which is why you won't see American skincare brands using this filter for American sunscreens. With the addition of a physical and chemical filter on top of Tinosorb S, you really have all-around great protection. In addition to its superb protection, this sunscreen also has glycerin and aloe extract, which hydrate the skin and really leaves a dewy finish. Given the dewy finish, this sunscreen would work best on normal to dry skin. I myself have combination skin and I really enjoy using this sunscreen. I do like a dewier and glowier finish when it comes to my base makeup. For oilier skin types, I could see this sunscreen being used as both a moisturizer and your SPF during the daytime, depending on your tolerance for level of shine. For only $16, I think this sunscreen is a complete steal, especially if you have an oilier skin type and you're also using this as your daytime moisturizer on top of being your sun protection. So the next sunscreen that I want to talk about would be the Dr. Jart Every Sunday Sun Fluid. This sunscreen is a chemical sunscreen and uses the filters Tinosorb S, octinoxate, avobenzone, and octocrylene. For ingredient callouts, this sunscreen does contain alcohol as well as lavender oil, but there are no parabens, phthalates, mineral oil, or synthetic fragrances. This sunscreen would work great for all skin types. Personally, I really like lavender as a scent, so I really don't mind the inclusion of lavender oil. I actually don't think I've tried any other sunscreen that smells like lavender, so when I first started using it, it was actually a really pleasant surprise at how nice it smelled. It also has a bit of that classic sunscreen smell, but it definitely disappears within 5 to 10 minutes. This sunscreen has a really thin, milky, kind of fluid texture, And I would say it has a more oily finish, but again, I really like it. For those with oily or combination skin, I could see this sunscreen being maybe like a touch too oily, but again, it really just depends on your preference for finish and your tolerance for shine. This sunscreen also has vitamin E in it, can help improve skin's moisture retention, hydration, and provides antioxidant benefits to prevent signs of aging and supporting visible firmness. I really enjoy mixing this with my foundation. It works really well. It pairs really beautifully with the It Cosmetics CC cream when I want a sheer but glowy finish. So the next sunscreen I want to talk about would be the NEOGEN Daylight Protection Sunscreen SPF 50. So this is another sunscreen that uses both physical and chemical filters. The physical filters used are zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. The chemical filters used are octinoxate, tinosorb S, and amyloxate. This sunscreen also has a dewier finish, but I think it would work well for all skin types. As for ingredient callouts, there are no synthetic fragrances in this sunscreen, but there are essential oils. And it's free of drying alcohol, such as denatured alcohol. This sunscreen is also one of my personal favorites. There's absolutely no white cast, and it gives a slightly dewy finish, but it's not greasy. It's formulated with both rose and raspberry extracts for extra hydration. I know this sunscreen is Charlotte Cho, the founder of SoCoGlam's personal favorite sunscreen, and I think that this sunscreen would work really well for those with sensitive skin. Again, if you have an oilier skin type, such as oily skin or combination skin, this sunscreen could be used as your daytime moisturizer and sun protection all in one step. So the next sunscreen that I want to talk about would be the Innisfree Daily UV Defense Sunscreen. And this is a newer sunscreen that I've been trying and really loving. This is a chemical sunscreen, and the filters that they use are avobenzone, homosalate, and octisalate. There is both fragrance and alcohol in this sunscreen, but it's worked fine on my skin. This sunscreen also has green tea and sika to really help soothe the skin. So the texture of this sunscreen is like a really light cream, and I would say that it gives a slightly matte finish. I think this sunscreen would work great on all skin types. It's also formulated with some really great soothing ingredients such as green tea and sika. There's also sunflower seed oil to provide that extra boost of hydration. And I do want to note that this sunscreen is SPF 36. Typically, when I'm shopping for sunscreens, I prefer getting sunscreens that are at least SPF 50, but an SPF 36 still offers really great protection, and it's still so much better than not wearing sunscreen at all. This sunscreen is also pretty affordable. It's priced at $15, which I think is a steal given how nice and light the formula is. So the last sunscreen that I want to talk about is a physical sunscreen, and it is the Dr. G Green Mild Up Sun Plus. And again, this is a physical sunscreen. The filter that it uses is zinc oxide. And what I find really unique about this sunscreen is the finish. I would say it has more of a matte finish, but it's a little different than your traditional matte finish. I would even almost call it like a rubbery type of matte. It almost kind of feels like a primer in a way. So that being said, I think this sunscreen would work best for those with oilier skin types, such as oily skin or combination skin, because once you put this on, it really just soaks up all of that excess oil you have on top of the skin, and makeup goes on beautifully over it. This sunscreen would be really great for those who have sensitive skin because there's also no fragrance and there's no alcohol in this formula. I like how they also included Centella asiatica for additional calming, as well as chia seed extract for hydration. For me personally, I have combination skin, so I really like using this sunscreen on the days where I'm feeling extra oily and I just need some help to kind of like tamper that down. I think this sunscreen also creates such a great base for makeup. Using this sunscreen underneath that foundation could be a nice little trick to prevent your foundation from looking too shiny. So those were 5 of the best Korean sunscreens that I've tried so far. Let me know if there's a sunscreen that you think I should check out. Sunscreens are one of my favorite product categories to try just because it's such an essential part of any skincare routine. You have to wear sunscreen really every single day, which I do. So even though there's sunscreens that I already love, I'm always willing and curious to try more. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.